Hello, welcome to the Daily News Ukraine channel. Today is March 7th and our daily review of news about Ukraine. Ukraine managed to return 585 employees of the Ministry of Internal Affairs from Russian captivity. Minister of Internal Affairs Klymenko said this in an interview with Ukrinform. 585 our employees have been returned from captivity, he said. According to the minister, the freed employees are sent for rehabilitation after appropriate treatment, when doctors allow. Some of these people are sent for treatment abroad if necessary, if someone needs prosthetics. Although, for example, in the Border Guard Service Hospital, foreign specialists are already working together with our specialists, and they successfully help people to recover, the minister assured. According to Klymenko, most of those who return from captivity then join the army, but everything depends on their rehabilitation and treatment. Azov members, police officers all work, all serve and perform their duties. Someone has even returned to the combat zone, and someone is already in the rear zone ensuring the order on the territory of our state. Most of them want to and return to the army because they want to serve, the minister added. As reported, on February 16, Ukraine and Russia conducted another exchange of prisoners of war. 100 Ukrainian military personnel and one civilian, First Deputy Enerhodar Mayor Ivan Samoidiak, returned home. According to Andriy Yermak, the head of the Ukrainian President's office, among those returned from captivity are members of the National Guard and the State Border Guard Service. United Nations agencies will provide financial and other assistance to the victims of a Russian missile attack on a residential apartment block in Zaporizhzhia. This was reported by Zaporizhzhia Regional Military Administration on Telegram, Ukrinform reports. UN representatives visited the site of a house destroyed by a missile attack. Ms. Brown, UN Resident Coordinator in Ukraine Edition, emphasized that this shelling of civilians has dire consequences, so UN agencies have already joined in providing financial aid to the victims of Russian terror, the report says. According to Brown, support will not be limited to purely monetary payments, but will also meet other needs of people. Having received a clear signal from the regional authorities, the UN agencies will direct their efforts to solving the problems of the victims. As reported by Ukrinform, the Russian army launched a missile attack on Zaporizhzhia on the night of March 2. At least 13 people were killed, including an 8-month-old baby girl. Photo: Zaporizhzhia Regional Military Administration. A Ukrainian serviceman executed by Russians is Tymofiy Shadura, a soldier of the 30th Separate Mechanized Brigade, according to preliminary data. The ground forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine said this on Telegram, Ukrinform reports. Yesterday, a footage was shared on social networks and mass media showing a serviceman of the Armed Forces of Ukraine being shot by the Russian occupiers after he said, "Glory to Ukraine." According to preliminary data, the deceased is Tymofiy Mykolaievich Shadura, a serviceman of the 30th Separate Mechanized Brigade, the report says. Shadura has been considered missing since February 3, 2023 after hostilities in the Bakhmut district, Donetsk region. Read also, SBU opens proceedings over video of execution of Ukrainian soldier. The body of the Ukrainian serviceman is currently in the temporarily occupied territory. The final confirmation of the identity will be established after the body is returned and the relevant examinations are conducted. As reported by Ukrinform, a footage of the Russian invaders shooting a Ukrainian soldier for the phrase "Glory to Ukraine" appeared online. On March 6, the main investigation department of Ukraine's SBU State Security Service launched criminal proceedings after footage emerged showing a Ukrainian soldier being shot by the Russians. DTEK solar power plants almost doubled electricity production in February. DTEK's press service announced this on Telegram, Ukrinform reports. Due to daylight hours increase, DTEK's power engineers ensured the efficient operation of solar generation. Over the past month, solar power plants increased electricity production from 18.5 million kilowatt-hours in January to 35.2 million kilowatt-hours in February, the report says. Read also, government transfers UAH 10.8b to local budgets in February. DTEK emphasized that this contributed to the fact that there was no shortage of electricity in the power system on most days of February, which made it possible to provide Ukrainians with electricity without blackouts. As reported, in February, DTEK restored power supply in 362 settlements in Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk regions, restoring power supply to 263,000 families. In February 2023, local budgets received UAH 10.8 billion in transfers from the general fund of the state budget. This was reported by the Finance Ministry's press service, according to Ukrinform. In February 2023, the government of Ukraine, in accordance with the budget legislation, ensured interbudgetary transfers to local budgets in the amount of UAH 10.8 billion, which is 69.6% of the approved plan, the report says. Read also, Prozorro.Sale auctions generate more than UAH 70b in budget revenues at the disposal of local self-government bodies, territories where hostilities were being conducted, or temporarily occupied territories. A reverse subsidy in the amount of UAH 241.8 million remained in February, which was not transferred to the state budget in wartime conditions. Fund balance on the accounts of local budgets and budgetary institutions under the general and special funds increased by UAH 26.3 billion in January-February 2023 and amounted to UAH 141.8 billion on March 1, 2023. As reported by Ukrinform, local budgets received UAH 137 billion in transfers from the general fund of the state budget in January-December 2022. The best Ukrainian pilots have already been designated and are ready to leave for any country willing to provide training immediately. The relevant statement was made by spokesperson for the Air Force Command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine Yuri Ihnat during a nationwide telethon, and Ukrinform correspondent reports. Ihnat mentioned that 2 Ukrainian pilots had already gone to the United States in order to analyze the skills of Ukrainian aviators and the needs of a potential base intended for training in the operation of modern aircraft. According to Ihnat, the Ukrainian side has a roadmap developed long before the Russian invasion. Our military leadership has long planned to switch to modern multi-role aircraft. This is an action plan, a roadmap that provides for pilot training along with military engineer training. At the same time, relevant infrastructure should be prepared. This work is already underway in Ukraine, Ihnat noted. In his words, Ukraine's infrastructure ministry and defense ministry are already working on this issue and preparing the sites where the Western advanced equipment can be received. Ukraine has received 450 power equipment shipments, totaling 5,650 tons in weight, in humanitarian aid from international partners since the full-scale war started. The relevant statement was made by Ukrainian Energy Minister German Galushchenko, and Ukrinform correspondent reports, referring to the ministry's press service. Thanks to this aid, we were able to restore a large number of energy infrastructure objects that Russians had targeted with missiles, drones, and artillery. This is a huge contribution to Ukraine's energy stability and, eventually, our future victory, Galushchenko noted. The aid received included more than 1,700 power generators, about 1,000 transformers, mobile gas boilers, special equipment, high-voltage equipment for power transmission line repairs, and a mobile cable laboratory. In general, Ukraine received assistance from 30 countries. With the equipment provided by our partners, we have resumed power and heat supply services for millions of Ukrainians, passed through that extremely challenging winter, and are already preparing for the next heating season. The international coalition contributes not only to our energy security but also global energy security, Galushchenko concluded. Photo, Ukrainian Energy Ministry. In cooperation with the aerial surveillance forces of the National Guard of Ukraine, the mortar units of the Ukrainian State Border Guard Service have eliminated at least 7 Wagner Group's mercenaries in the Donetsk region's Bakhmut. The relevant statement was made by the Ukrainian Internal Affairs Ministry on Telegram, and Ukrinform correspondent reports. In particular, a group of Russia's Wagner mercenaries attempted to attack one of Ukrainian strongholds in Bakhmut. In close combat, Ukrainian defenders stopped them. Having lost some of their forces, Russians began to retreat. The National Guard members tracked them down with a drone, and the mortar units of the Ukrainian State Border Guard Service eliminated at least 7 Russian invaders. A total of 356 children in Ukraine have been listed as missing since the Russian full-scale invasion started. The relevant statement was made by the Ombudsman's office in Ukraine on Facebook, and Ukrinform correspondent reports. Following the data from the Children of War State portal, as of March 7, 2023, a total of 356 children were listed as missing, 16,224, deported, 10,230, found, 308, returned, the report states. A reminder that, on March 6, 2023, Verkhovna Rada Commissioner for Human Rights Dmytro Lubinets announced that, with the help of the Ombudsman's office, an 8-year-old boy was returned to Ukraine from the temporarily occupied areas. Photo, AA. Ukraine's various level budgets have received more than $70 billion from online auctions held since the Prozorro.Sale platform was launched. The relevant statement was made by Prozorro.Sale State Enterprise on Facebook, and Ukrinform correspondent reports. In particular, the highest revenues came from the following areas: insolvent bank asset sales, $25.09 billion, bankruptcy, $13.70 billion, small privatization, $13.15 billion, property and asset sales, $10.15 billion, and special subsurface management license sales, $3.96 billion. The most expensive lots sold since the Prozorro.Sale platform was launched have been as follows: Dniprovsky Iron and Steel Works, $9.17 billion, Dnipro Hotel in Kiev, $1.11 billion, and the special license for oil and gas production operations within the Mayarivka field, $1.10 billion. The most competitive auction was the sale of the Skoda Octavia car, which involved 49 bidders. The starting price increased from $1,137 to $50,000. Today we were talking about those news. Klymenko, 585 employees of Ministry of Internal Affairs returned from Russian captivity. UN agencies will provide assistance to Zaporizhzhia missile attack victims. Ukrainian soldier executed by Russians is Tymofiy Shadura, ground forces. DTEK solar power plants almost double electricity production. Government transfers 10.8 billion to local budgets in February. Ukrainian pilots ready to leave for any country to receive training immediately, Ihnat. Minister Galushchenko, Ukraine's energy sector received aid from 30 countries. Ukrainian military eliminate at least 7 Wagner mercenaries in Bakhmut. 356 children listed as missing since Russian invasion started. Prozorro.Sale auctions generate more than $70 billion in budget revenues.